But you know, my biggest worry in life, as far as wrestling is concerned, is that I'm in the ring, and some father who watched me for years takes his son and he goes, you know, son, this is the Undertaker here. Boy, I wish you could have seen him win. That means it's time for me to hang it up. When they're saying, you know, and when guys feel, you know, and hopefully they would tell me, the guys that I work with and the guys that I wrestle against, hopefully they would tell me, you know what, you might need to think about something, you know, because I would hate to know that anybody ever laid back to protect me, you know, because that's not what I'm about. So as long as I can go and I can hang with our top guys, I got no reason to leave.
It was boring, it was overly long, it was laborious, it was just not that intriguing, and the two just didn't click real well. And I have to say, Undertaker did not look like Undertaker. And what I mean by that, he didn't look crisp, he looked like an old man out there. He looked off balance, he wasn't hitting his moves as well. Like that was like the shittiest tombstone I think he's done since the early stages of his career. He did not look like Undertaker at all, and this was one of the first times you've really seen Undertaker's age really start to show, and it's like, wow, he don't look good. What I will say is that this match was depressing to watch, because the bad expectations that we had for Sting, I felt like Undertaker lived up to in this match, because he did not look good. He was slow. He got gassed. The longer the match went, the worse it got. This will be the third year in a row I've said this. Undertaker, God damn it, you need to retire. My God, he looked old. He looked tired. He looked huffy and puffy. He looked like he didn't want to be there. And I'm like, dude, Undertaker, you can't possibly be enjoying this anymore. You can't. And you don't need the money. You strike me as a smart dude. You don't need... I'm assuming you took care of yourself and you took care of your money. You don't need to be doing this anymore, man. Stop it. I don't want to watch you die. It's like... there were points in this match where he just, like, lays down, and I'm like, I don't think he's selling. He's just huffing and puffing, like... It's like, all right, let's just get through this. Let's just get through this. And he looks terrible. I'm sorry. It's just, Undertaker, please stop. Just stop. But nobody's really talking about Lesnar because Undertaker looked so bad. I mean, holy shit. Not only did he look fat as fuck. Like, Matt Hardy from a few years ago, fat as fuck. Like, when I was at that Ring of Honor show and Matt Hardy was on the card and the crowd mercilessly was chanting, "You fat fuck," Undertaker deserved that chant in this match. I was like, holy shit, he looks awful. He looked horrible. And he couldn't really move. He was sluggish. He looked terrible. He looked absolutely terrible. And of the three, the fact that Goldberg looked the best out of the three, to me, is kind of sad, because Goldberg has, famously been the most limited of the major stars of that era. But goddamn, he looked cooler and better than Lesnar and Taker did. God damn it. And even Mark Henry and Big Show looked better than Undertaker did. They looked more mobile and could, like, take more bumps and shit. I mean, my God. It was like, holy God, Undertaker, please retire. I hope, because he's going to work WrestleMania, because whatever. But I hope to God it's the end. I was like, I can't watch this for... I mean, tell me how you feel, because I can't watch Undertaker go for much longer. It's just... the last three Mania performances, I was like, dude, you need to hang it up. And he's just getting worse. He's just getting just worse. And for him to show up in that bad a shape is really, really sad. And really, really bad. And it was embarrassing. Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. It is time for me to talk about WrestleMania 33, the show that happened this weekend, and a bunch of other things that happened this weekend. I want to cover Ring of Honor Supercard of Honor 11. I want to talk about NXT, a TakeOver in Orlando, Raw SmackDown, following WrestleMania, bunch of stuff to cover, bunch of stuff to talk about. Before I get into anything, and this is going to be a long-ass video, I'm going to be here a while, so get your popcorn ready, sit down. This is going to be long as shit. But before I get started with anything, I do want to pass off my well wishes to Jim Ross. I just kept slipping my mind to mention this in some of my videos, but he lost his wife a few weeks ago, and I did want to pay my respects. And JR is a treasure in the wrestling business and to us wrestling fans, and I'm sure his family's going through a tough time right now. So I wanted to pass along my best wishes. And JR, I love you. You're one of the best. My best wishes, prayers, thoughts, and everything go to you and your family during this hard time. I also wanted to pass off my best wishes to Tomoaki Hanma, who suffered a severe injury about a month ago. And again, I just kind of kept forgetting to mention it in my videos. Yeah, it was bad. Like, to put it mildly, the injury was bad. And in my opinion, it's very unlikely he's going to wrestle again. It was just one of those situations, got dropped on his head the wrong way, and it was bad. It was really, really bad. So, yeah, it's never good to see something like that happen in pro wrestling, especially to someone, who is an entertaining guy and a talent. And, I mean, it shouldn't happen to anybody, quite honestly, who steps in the ring. It's just sad. It's just once in a while that type of thing happens, and it's sad. It happened to Draws, which is one of the great tragedies. And really, I mean, if you need any proof that you shouldn't try this at home, just look at Draws. And, and that whole situation. But, yeah, so I wanted to start off, make sure that I get that out there, because I keep forgetting to mention it. And just offer my best wishes to Tomoaki Hanma and Jim Ross during this very trying time for both of them. I want to... WrestleMania is going to be early in the video because I know that's what everybody wants me to talk about, so I just, I got to get that out of the way. I do want to talk about my favorite thing that happened this weekend. Fucking Rick and Morty came back as an April Fool's prank where they pretty much went around and told everybody, hey, we're bringing Rick and Morty back for season 3 on April Fool's Day, and everybody was like, yeah, no, it's an April Fool's joke, and then it's like, oh shit, no, it's real. The real, opener to season 3 fucking aired on Adult Swim, and it's like, man, we didn't even get a new episode of Samurai Jack, and I don't care, because Rick and Morty was so goddamn great, and I was so happy to see it, and I got the message that it was airing while I was watching NXT TakeOver. It was during the Asuka Ember Moon match, so I actually missed part of that match, because I was on the phone with somebody who's like, are you sure fucking Rick and Morty? Fucking Rick and Morty? Are you fucking me? And I was like, alright, the minute that NXT is over, I'm watching that shit. And, so I missed a good portion of the Asuka Ember Moon match, but I did go back and watch it, so I've seen the whole match, so it doesn't matter. Yeah, no, it's cool to have Rick and Morty back, and goddamn, I want that Mulan Szechuan McNugget sauce, Morty. I want it, Morty. 9 more seasons. If it takes me 9 more seasons, that's my series arc, Morty. I'm getting my goddamn Mulan McNugget sauce, Morty. Loved it. It was fucking great. Made me so happy. Made my whole weekend. WrestleMania could have been completely terrible, and I would have been like, no, it's okay. I got Rick and Morty back. We're fine. I'm fine. We're all good here. No problems. No problems at all. Yeah, and before I jump into WrestleMania, I do want to talk about some of the stuff that happened on Raw and SmackDown. There wasn't much. Couple of big debuts. Nakamura debuted on SmackDown, which is big. Finn Balor came back and main evented Raw, and apparently he's best friends with Seth Rollins now. They're tag partners. It's like, okay. All baby faces are friends, I guess. What else? Goldberg gave a farewell speech after the show was over. I saw a clip of the speech. It was very nice, very cool. Yeah, I have a lot to say about the Goldberg-Lesnar match, so when I get into WrestleMania, I'll get there. Let's see, Emma's back. It only took her 6 weeks this time instead of 17. Probably the biggest storyline development that happened is that Brock Lesnar has immediately said he wants to face Roman Reigns for the Universal title, to the excitement of absolutely no one. Nobody cares. But Braun Strowman did come out and confront Brock Lesnar, which was interesting. I'm like, all right, that match is way more interesting to me than Roman and Brock, because it's like Roman, and I'll have more to say when I get into the main event, but Roman is just not going to work as top face. I'm sorry, it's not going to work. From a storyline perspective, he does not work as a top face, and I'll explain why when I get into WrestleMania and talk about the main event. Randy Orton got a mixed reaction, which didn't shock me. Ty Dillinger also debuted on SmackDown, which kind of surprises me. No knock on Ty. I just kind of wish he'd stayed on NXT to kind of complete his story, because I wanted him to become, like, the next Sami Zayn, like that next, like, underdog babyface that overcomes everything and ultimately wins the title, but he didn't get to do that, so it's like, oh, okay. Okay, he's on the main show now, and now he's probably not going to get used well, but whatever. Eric Rowan also returned, and we get a shitty version of the Wyatt family now. So that's pretty much all that happened on Raw and SmackDown, so not a whole lot going on. That's actually one of the reasons I delayed to do my Mania review until after SmackDown. I want to make sure that any major developments that came out of the fallout of WrestleMania were covered by me as part of this video, and it turns out like nothing that huge really happened. Again, a couple NXT call-ups and a couple returns, but nothing like earth-shattering as far as storylines go. So there wasn't like a major heel turn, and there wasn't like a huge star coming back or anything like that. Actually, the huge stars coming back happened in Mania. So with that, I'll get into WrestleMania. Overall impressions, I liked it more than 31 and 32. I liked more about the show than I disliked. I thought it did have the same problem that last year's show did. It's too long. A 2-hour pre-show and a 5-hour main show is way too long. Some people have made comparisons to New Japan. And New Japan, I mean, their dome shows, they do, I think it's a 4-hour show with a 1-hour pre-show, and those breeze by. I don't know how New Japan does it, but like the ordering of the matches and the timing of the matches just seems perfect for those shows. And with WrestleMania, they seem to struggle. And when you get to that, like, 3.5-hour mark into the main show, and maybe even earlier than that, it's just like, okay, guys, I'm kind of worn out here. And I mean, that's a lot of content to fill in one night. And, last year's show felt too long and overly bloated, and this year's show felt, not to the degree that last year's did, but I was feeling it by the end. And by the time it was over, I'm like, okay, can we wrap this up? He's like, all right, I'm ready to go to bed now. Can we do this? Also, I like the set. I thought the set looked really cool with the giant ring above the ring. It kind of made me wish somebody would climb up there and start doing moves on top of the giant ring. And I'm like, Shane, if anybody's going to do it, it's going to be Shane McMahon. But no, nothing like that happened. I thought the globe on the stage looked really cool. The ramp looked cool. Way too fucking long. I don't know whose idea that was, but the entrances took like twice as long because, my God, it was just insane how long it was taking the guys to get to the ring. And I was kind of like, the ring carts would have probably helped out with that. Triple H got to ride a motorcycle down to the ring, it's like, make it a little easier on the boys. And Undertaker got to come up halfway through the entrance ramp. He had a little gimmick where he came up from the ground halfway through it, which was good because there's if Undertaker had started at the top of the ramp, it would have been WrestleMania 34 by the time he got there. What else? A couple of production gaffes. They were doing this weird thing, and it was most noticeable during the Aries Neville match on the pre-show, where they would cut to the crowd or someone in the crowd reacting to a big move or something, and it was really distracting. And the reason it was so noticeable in the Aries Neville match was because we almost missed a major near fall because of it. It's like, Jesus Christ, why would you do that? I mean, okay, after the match, I get it. If something big happens after the match, you want to capture the fans' reaction, I get that. But cutting to their reactions during the action is really distracting. Unless you do it at like the right possible time. But like I said, we almost missed a major near fall in the Neville Aries match because of it. And that's something that was kind of a thing throughout the night, but not a huge problem, but something that's like I hope doesn't become a thing. It's like when they started like cutting to the crowd in the middle of backstage promos, and I'm like, why do we need to see the crowd reaction to the backstage promos? What's the point? I don't understand it. But what else? The New Day as hosts, they weren't annoying. Like, they didn't do anything like that unfunny or that annoying. They were fine. I thought their fake out during the ladder match was actually pretty cool and a nice little, twist. However, I still don't understand the need for hosts, though. Like, why does WrestleMania need hosts? I don't get it. I really don't get it. But, we didn't get it, like I said, we didn't get any stupid backstage comedy segments from them. We didn't get anything painful they were just there, and I don't know why we need hosts. Like, why does WrestleMania need hosts? I don't understand. But, yeah, that's that. Those are the overall impressions of the show. Now let's go through it match by match, the fun way to review WrestleMania. Starting with the pre-show, we had Neville versus ECIII for the Cruiserweight title, and this is coming from the point of view of somebody who is not instantly in love with, like, the indie darlings, or I don't automatically love cruiserweights. I'm not that type of guy. This is a match that deserved to be on the main show, and I say that because it was well-built, better promoted. Like, if you look at the 4, like, lower-tier matches for WrestleMania, you had the Battle Royal, you had the SmackDown Women's title, SmackDown Women's title match, the IC title match, and this one, I would say, of those 4, this is the one that deserved to be on the main card. And it's a little silly to me that it wasn't. But they went out there and worked like they were on the main card. It's a shame that they had to perform in front of a crowd that was still filing in. But it was a good match. I like that they worked in Aries' orbital socket injury into the finish. I like that Neville went over because to me, he's a strong heel, and you keep running with the strong heel until you get a big payoff down the road. This was the first time it felt like Neville's Cruiserweight title reign was legitimately in jeopardy. So it had that fun dramatic element to it. Some of the moves were big and huge, like the top rope Hurricane Rana and Neville having to break out the Red Arrow to beat Aries and stuff like that. So, good match. It was just a really good match on the pre-show. One of the better matches of the night, and it wasn't even on the main show. So, oh well, what are you going to do? Then we got the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, which the minute that Strowman got eliminated, I immediately was like, well, I'm done here. I'm going to go order my pizza. And I lost any and all interest in this match after Strowman was eliminated. When I came back, Gronk was getting ready to jump in, which was really funny that security tried to stop him from getting into the ring. And Rob Gronkowski, I hate the New England Patriots, but I begrudgingly love him because he's such a cartoon character of a frat douche. He's just like, the dude is like a total frat douche. But to such a cartoony degree, I can't help but love the guy. I was talking to a friend of mine about him, and he's like, Rob Gronkowski is the type of guy that would walk around with a marshmallow up his butt all day long and then make somebody in the locker room eat it. He's the type of guy that, look, I'm not saying Rob Gronkowski is a date rapist. I'm saying he knows people that probably are. And that's Rob Gronkowski. And it's like, well, okay. And they did it for their ESPN highlight that they like to get. Of course, I also get to joke that the New England Patriots cheated at WrestleMania to help their boy win. Really, though, like, Mojo Rawley winning, seriously? That's so random. I mean, that's just so... Like, Baron Corbin winning last year, some people thought was random. I'm like, no, he was a guy in NXT that they were building up fairly well. It's like, all right, new guy on the roster, they want to push him. Okay, I see it. He's a big guy that they could run with. Cesaro made sense. Big show for their... the Giant has to win the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. That at least made sense. I wasn't a fan of it, but at least it made sense. This is just like, who the fuck cares about Mojo Rawley? I just don't. Best thing that dude ever did was get his ass kicked by Bull Dempsey. That's like literally my favorite thing that dude ever did. But, oh well. Sorry, dropping the tablet here. So that's really all my impressions of the Memorial Battle Royal. This was probably the one result on the card that really had me scratching my head. Like, and there were some that I disagreed with, but this was the only one that had me go, huh? Seriously? This happened? But it was a pre-show Battle Royal, so I guess there's not a whole lot of reason to get that upset over it, but it's still weird. Even under those, like, parameters, it's still weird. It's still really strange that Mojo Rawley went over, but, whatever. And it is nice that this is the only head-scratching result on this card, as opposed to last year in 31, which, had quite a few. It's like, oh, let's have Sting lose to Triple H, because fuck you, that's why. Oh, let's have AJ lose his first WrestleMania match, because fuck you, that's why. All sorts of, weird shit like that. Let's have Shane McMahon lose the Hell in a Cell match, even though he's going to get control of Raw anyways, making the entire storyline completely pointless. So, whatever. Finally on the pre-show we had Dean Ambrose versus Baron Corbin for the IC title, a match that surprisingly got bumped to the pre-show. I didn't know that was going to get bumped. match was, it was there. That's really all there is to say about it. I like that Corbin broke up the rebound clothesline because that move is stupid. But other than that, I don't really have anything else other to say. It's like, all right, they went out there, went through the motions, had a match, and that was it. And pre-show was done. That was pretty much it. So that's really all there is to say about that match. Then we get onto the main show. With all the pageantry, America the Beautiful, which, by the way, I'm still pissed off that at WrestleMania 29, the time I was there, we didn't get America the Beautiful. That really pisses me off. And none of the opening ceremony stuff. It's like, come on, guys. Fuck. Anyway, opening match, AJ Styles versus Shane McMahon. I really liked this match. I thought this was a very good opener. A lot of stuff they did here was really good with Shane, like... They kind of told the story that AJ was overconfident, that he could just dance circles around Shane, and this was going to be an easy win for him, and Shane kept surprising him with all these counters and all these moves that he could do, like countering the 450 and do like a triangle choke, or countering the phenomenal forearm and do a jumping DDT, or whatever it was he was doing. He kept having all these little surprises for AJ, who was kind of taking him lightly, and I like that. It made for a really fun, creative match. And then when the referee gets knocked out, you get the hardcore element brought in, and Shane gets to do the coast-to-coast and the shooting star press, which was amazing. I didn't know Shane could still do that. And the elbow drop through the table. It's like Shane McMahon is one crazy-ass son of a bitch. Like, there is nothing that dude won't do. And, just a very good match. And, of course, my boy AJ gets to have a really impressive WrestleMania match. And gets his first big WrestleMania win. So, I have no problem with this. I liked who went over. I liked the match. I liked everything about it. I just thought it was a really, really good, really exciting, really creative, really fun opener. Next up was Chris Jericho versus Kevin Owens for the U.S. title. This was one of the best built matches on the show. It's one that I was super excited for. I don't think it lived up to my expectations, and maybe my expectations were a little high. But I was thinking maybe this will be a show stealer, and I think because it had to follow AJ and Shane, I think AJ and Shane kind of stole its thunder a little bit. So, they're kind of like having to have a lesser match after following like this amazing match. So, it was like, I kind of felt bad for them, but match was still good. I thought it was good. I liked the fingertip spot, which was a callback to the Birth of Jericho painting, Birth of Man parody that they did, which I thought was very clever. A lot of the counters towards the end were very good, like the pop-up powerbomb into the code breaker. Good stuff there. It was a consistently good match all the way through. Some people are complaining about the finish with the powerbomb on the apron being a weak finish. I remember him doing it in NXT, and that move put Sami Zayn in the hospital for like a month or whatever what the angle was. Didn't put him in the hospital, but you know what I mean. Like, it put him out of active competition in storylines for about a month. So they're like, no, that move is supposed to kill you. And, I could buy that as a finish. Works for me. Like, that type of, like, old school mentality makes sense. The problem is that they've never treated that move in that same vein since Owens has been on the main roster. Like, Cena took it, and Cena was back, like, the next night or the next week. Jericho took it here. All he did was lose a match. He was actually back on Raw the next night, and they had to write him out of the main event through a backstage assault. And I'm like, why'd you even have Jericho on the show? Why didn't you just say the powerbomb in the apron hurt him? Like, why didn't you just do that? I don't know. But yeah, I thought the match was good. Owens went over, which I thought was the right call. Good decision. They're going to have a rematch at Payback or whatever the next Raw pay-per-view is. Good, solid undercard match. I think I expected it to be a little bit better, but like I said, they're having to follow a really hot opener, and I think they were able to do a pretty good job with their spot on the card and what they were asked to do. So, just a really enjoyable match between two enjoyable talents, and they matched together pretty well. So, I was happy with it. Next up, the women's title match, Elimination 4-Way. Bayley versus Charlotte versus Sasha versus Nia Jax. Is it just me, or did this match, like, deflate after Nia Jax was eliminated? It felt like she was the biggest threat, and I liked that all three girls had to team up on her to eliminate her, which was very similar to the tag title match from the NXT show the night before. So I liked that. I thought that was very good. The problem was once she was gone, it felt like the match kind of, like, fell apart after that, especially with the whole thing with the exposed turnbuckle that wasn't exposed. And to me, that kind of ruined the whole match because, Charlotte was supposed to rip off the turnbuckle, and that was going to be her way of eliminating Sasha and then getting payback against her for cheating and ultimately cost her the match. Like, the whole story of the match, like, hinged on that turnbuckle pad being ripped off. And because it wasn't, the match just kind of fell apart and didn't have quite the impact that it was supposed to. And the story didn't work didn't work as well as it was supposed to. And Bayley's win didn't feel like a big deal because it already happened. It's like, why they didn't just save the title win for WrestleMania, I don't know. Especially with Charlotte's undefeated streak on pay-per-view intact. They should have saved it for Mania, but whatever. They do what they want to do. Match was at best okay. I felt like it did kind of fall apart at the end, and not as good as it should have been, especially, like, goddamn, that turnbuckle pad not coming out. What is it with Sasha and Charlotte? It feels like something always goes wrong in their pay-per-view matches. Like the Hell in a Cell, the table wouldn't break and it ruined the finish. There was another one, wasn't there? Like, I seem to remember, didn't something go wrong in their Iron Man match? I don't remember, but it seems like something always goes wrong with them. Oh, you know what I'm thinking of? I'm thinking of Bayley and Charlotte, actually, where they just had that clusterfucky match at Fastlane, and it was just a joke. But it seems like something always goes wrong with the Raw's women's pay-per-view matches. I don't understand it. Oh, well. Next up from there, we got what was supposed to be a 3-way ladder match, now a 4-way ladder match. Enzo and Cass versus Sheamus and Cesaro versus Anderson and Gallows, the champions. The tag team titles were on the line here. And the surprise entrance, not the New Day. Again, I thought that fake out was really well handled. The Hardy Boys came back, Matt and Jeff. And they're back, and the crowd just ate it up from start to finish. And their return really lit this match up and really gave it a spark. Like I said, I've gotten sick and tired of multi-man ladder matches, but I think the return of the Hardys and the passion that the fans showed for their return really helped this match out and really helped it to stand out. I'm like, okay, you know what? I keep saying that these multi-man ladder matches, like, I'm not going to remember this match in 6 months. This one, by this time next year, I'm going to remember this one, mainly for the return of the Hardys. So major kudos there. They actually improved upon my expectations for the ladder match. And it was the typical, what you would expect out of a match like this, but the Hardy Boys being there really livened it up and really made it a lot more fun to watch. Now, the Hardys are in the WWE, but they can't be the Broken Hardys, even though the crowd both nights on Raw and on at WrestleMania were chanting delete, 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 and Brother Nero and all that other stuff. They can't be the Broken Hardys because Anthem and Impact Wrestling owns the intellectual property associated with that gimmick. First of all, Impact Wrestling, fuck you for letting the Hardys go. You messed up royally because Ring of Honor got their highest attended show ever out of it and a killer main event. I can't wait to talk about Supercard of Honor. That's coming at the end of this video. They got a killer main event out of it. WrestleMania got a huge moment out of it, and now WWE has this really over act on their roster, and I don't understand how new management could come in with Impact and the first thing you do is screw over letting the Hardys stay. I'm like, that is a huge mistake on their part, an absolutely huge mistake. And it's sad that we can't get the Broken Hardys because I think the nostalgia act of Team Extreme and the Hardy Boys is going to wear thin. I think we all want Broken Matt Hardy. We all want Brother Nero. We want I fade away and classify myself as obsolete and delete, delete, delete and all that other stuff. That's what we want, but we're not going to get it. So it's like, that's kind of a shame. So I don't know if the Hardys are going to fizzle out or how long it's going to take them to fizzle out, but it's not the situation we all want it to be. But for the night, for WrestleMania, I thought it was a great moment. I thought it was really cool. I was fine with them winning because I didn't really care who won the tag title match. So giving it to the Hardys, like the surprise, I'm like, okay, I'm fine with that. Fun match, fun situation, fun moment, good stuff. No complaints. No complaints for me. All right, I think my ordering of the match is a little fuzzy from this point onwards. I might be getting a few things confused. But I believe next was the mixed tag. It was John Cena and Nikki Bella versus Miz and Maurice. Miz was great in this match. I love that he played to a crowd that clearly loved him. Jerry Lawler had like the dumbest line of his career when he said, most of these fans aren't cheering for the Miz. Or something like that, when they're obviously cheering for the Miz. I'm like, okay, Jerry. All right. Good on you. I'm sure Vince told him to say that, but okay. Whatever. So Miz made the match fun. Made it fun to watch. I know a lot of people were complaining about the match. Cena and Nikki were going to win. We knew that. I already knew that. I just wanted to see Miz be entertaining, and I felt like we got that. The marriage proposal at the end, the girls in the crowd seemed to like it. I mean, I'm an unromantic schmuck, so I didn't care. I mean, it was refreshing to see Cena not act like a robot. Or not act like the whoopity-woo! Because those are your two extremes with Cena. You either get the robot, Terminator Man on fucking Total Bellas, who, by the way, the episode where the dog bit him, I just want to say, in the movies, dogs are the only ones that can sniff out real Terminators. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. They know fake people. And it's funny to me that he bit John Cena. That's, it's a thing. You either get that Cena, it's like, these are my house rules. These are how you're going to live here. You will make your bed every day. We will have dinner at 6 p.m. on the spot. And when dinner is over, the women will retire to the wherever the fuck. And the men will go to the study. And we will talk manly stuff and smoke pipes. Because that is what human beings do. I mean, he's like this weird, like, borderline Asperger's, like, human being on Total Bellas. And then you have the John Cena that we see on WWE television, which is whoopity-woo, I'm John Cena, woo, you can't see me, whoopity-whoopity-poopity-whoopity-doo. Those are your two extremes. It's either a robot or Adam Sandler. That's what you get. So to see him break that, at least for a moment, was actually refreshing. I mean, the proposal didn't bother me. Yeah, we all knew it was coming, and that makes it seem like, it's like he probably proposed to her like a month ago, and Vince was like, we gotta book this on pay-per-view. Wrestlemania moment. But it was fine. I didn't lose my shit over it too much. I believe the next match was Triple H versus Seth Rollins in the unsanctioned fight. Well, for once I like Triple H's entrance. I mean, it's not much. He just rode out there on a motorcycle, but it's like, it's cool. It was cool. At least he was smart enough to actually get a ride down that insanely long entrance ramp. And it kind of made me wonder, it's like, oh my god, he's a genius. He's riding down the ramp, and Seth with a busted leg is going to have to walk all the way down there. It's like, shit, Triple H is a genius. But my feelings on the match, again, this was probably the best built match on the show. From a storyline perspective, this probably the best build-up of any match on the show. Maybe my expectations were too high. I was expecting this to be like a WrestleMania classic. Like, this was going to be like, I mean, I don't want to say Omega Okada level good from earlier this year, Wrestle Kingdom, but I thought that this was, like, guaranteed to be, like, next level shit. Like, this was going to be, like, a Bret and Austin or a Hogan Rock or, like, something akin to that. Like, one of those, like, true blue WrestleMania classics. And it didn't really happen. It was good. I won't say it was bad. It was a perfectly fine match. I like that Seth went over. A lot of the pedigree counters that they did towards the end were great. Stephanie taking a table bump was really well designed because I forgot the table had been set up. I was like, holy shit, what happened? That was actually a really well designed. It was nice that Steph got her comeuppance. So, they did a lot of good stuff. So I'm not going to say the match was bad. I didn't think it was bad. I thought it was good. The crowd wasn't that hot for it. I think part of that might have been, again, is this part of the length of the show where the show was too long and the crowd was getting tired? I don't know. And maybe part of the problem was they spent too much time working over Seth Rollins' injury, where it felt like every move he did, he would just wince and, like, hold his leg. Or Triple H would attack his leg, and then Seth would have to go back to selling. And there were points where Seth didn't sell it as well as he should have, but whatever. And I think back to, like, other injury matches. Actually, Nakamura and Rude the night before, there were a lot of question marks in the storyline about Nakamura's leg and whether or not he'd be able to, overcome that, or whether he was fully healed and whether or not he'd be able to beat Rude. I felt like that match did a better job of utilizing the injury because they didn't have Nakamura sell the injury the entire time. It was just when Rude finally hit his spot, and he was finally able to get that chop block on Nakamura, then it was like, oh shit. It's like, alright, now the injury's going to come into play. And it was like, it's just the heel kind of like had to find an opening to get in there. And here it was just Triple H just beating down on him, and that it got a little repetitive at points. Actually, I'll use a Godzilla movie as an example. I don't care. It's kind of like the original Mothra versus Godzilla, where if you look at that fight, Mothra like completely dominated Godzilla. And it gets to a point where Mothra is just flapping the poison dust on top of Godzilla, and Godzilla's just writhing around, like trying to do anything he can to stand up. And then he just starts wildly blasting his atomic breath anywhere, and he just kind of gets off a lucky shot that hits Mothra in the face. And that's enough to kill Mothra. So, get Godzilla the win. So, I would have liked the injury to be incorporated that way, where Seth maybe is doing new moves that doesn't have to use his leg, and he's like throwing Triple H off and like out wrestling him or doing something to kind of like, and Seth is protecting the leg. Seth came into the match with the strategy that Triple H wasn't expecting. Kind of like Rocky Balboa going into Rocky 2, fighting like a right-handed fighter instead of a left-handed fighter. He did it to throw Apollo off. I would have liked it if Seth had done something like that, and then Triple H finally gets that window of opportunity and chop blocks him or does something, and then the injury comes into play. It's like Seth is like in command, and then all of a sudden lights go off and Triple H hits it, and then it's like, oh shit. And I think that would have been better than just having Triple H work over the leg the entire time. But like I said, I did enjoy the match. I thought it was good. It just wasn't as good as I wanted it to be. And again, maybe my expectations were too high. Maybe that's on me. I will say this, compared to most Triple H WrestleMania matches, this one was heavenly by comparison. I mean, if you look at last year's match with Reigns, the 25 match with Orton, that fucking match was seen at 22 that I hate so much. Like the match with Lesnar, which isn't even one of his worst, but was boring as shit. It's like, all right, this one was better than some of his other ones, so I'll take it. I'll take it. It wasn't up there with his best, like the match with Bryan at 30 or the triple threat at 20, but it was, it was good, and the right guy went over, and it was good for Seth, but I just didn't think the match clicked as well as it should have. And again, I was expecting this to be the best match on the show, and it really wasn't. But that happens. Again, maybe part of that's probably on me. Maybe my expectations were too high. Next up we got, I believe was the Pitbull music break, which the second that happened, I muted the TV, I went to go take a piss, and then I asked Alexa, my Echo Dot over there, to start playing 80s hair metal. And that was how I spent the concert. I don't know if Pitbull's perform...
I can't find 80s hair metal songs.
Well, fuck you, Alexa. You did it the other night. Shit. Anyway, I don't know if you heard that, but whatever, blooper. But yeah, it's like, so I didn't watch any of the Pitbull musical acts, so I don't know if it was any good or not. I listened to my old music, and that's fine. That's fine. We're all fine. I got to take a piss. It's fine. What I will say, though, is that these musical acts are typically treated like a piss break by most people, because it's not like the Super Bowl, because I feel like with the Super Bowl, there are a lot of people there for the commercials and there to see the halftime show, because there's a lot of non-football fans watch the Super Bowl. I don't feel that way about WrestleMania. I feel like people are there legitimately to see the wrestling, and they get all the diehards, they get the casuals, but I do feel like the people are there for the wrestling. And I don't know, it's probably, to me, like, getting a musical act is kind of an expensive piss break. You're probably better off just putting up intermission and playing the Monty Python music. I mean, that's probably a cheaper way to go about getting an intermission on your show, but what do I know? I don't run the thing. So, next up after the intermission was Bray Wyatt versus Randy Orton for the WWE title. This match sucked. This was bad. Really awful stuff. And this match perfectly encompasses Bray Wyatt's WWE career, because it's just, okay, the stuff that they did with them projecting the images on the ring, I think that's a good idea. I think it's a creepy idea. I think it's a creative idea that you can do something with. The problem is that there was no payoff to it, and Bray just lost anyway, so it didn't service the story at all whatsoever. They did it just to be weird. And they do that a lot with Bray Wyatt, where it's like they do stuff just to be weird without thinking it through, without having a payoff. They just do things and expect it to stick. And, you know, it's like, all right, he kidnaps The Undertaker and steals The Undertaker's lightning powers, but then Undertaker comes back and everything's okay now, and we don't know where he took Undertaker. We don't know how Undertaker got out. We don't know any of that shit, and none of it's explained. And it's like, well, what the fuck was the point of all that? He says, once I beat Undertaker at WrestleMania, I will be the new face of fear. Undertaker beats him. I am the new face of fear. What sense does that make? I don't know. It doesn't make any sense. They just do shit. And it's really unfortunate because Bray Wyatt is a guy that should have been the next Undertaker. But they never got him to that point because they kept booking him like shit. And here he is. Okay, the next Undertaker, he's 0-3 at WrestleMania. So to me, you've already squandered that. He's dead. He's done. Like, he's damaged goods at this point. There's no fixing him. He's never going to be what he could have been. I'm not saying he'll never be world champion again. I'm not saying he won't get pushed again. I'm saying the level of stardom that he could have reached, barring some, like, amazing CM Punk pipe bomb level shit, he's never going to reach the levels that he should have reached. And it's all because of shitty writing and shitty booking. And the images, like I said, I thought it was a cool idea. The first time they did it, I was like, whoa, that's... all right, there's maggots in the ring. Okay, that's weird. It's really fucked up and weird. And I was talking to somebody about it, and he had the idea of the last image should have been a picture of Sister Abigail's face, which, if done correctly, could have been nightmare fuel. And, you know, Randy Orton gets freaked out, and then Bray Wyatt capitalizes and gets the win. That's how it should have gone down. But like I said, projecting the images meant nothing. Orton just won anyway, so what was the point? Like, what was the point? Orton it didn't really feel like Orton had to overcome anything or do anything. It was just kind of like they were just meandering around until Orton hit the RKO out of nowhere and did the finish, and what the fuck. And that was your match. Yeah, this was bad. I thought this was really poorly executed, really bad. Terrible stuff. Not a good match. So at this point of the show, I'm feeling the length of the show. We had the piss break music act intermission, but I'm still feeling tired. I'm like, all right, I'm kind of done with the show. Can we move on? I'm ready to go to bed. Can we just wrap this up? Just rush through the rest of this and wrap this up. Next up was Goldberg versus Brock Lesnar for the Universal title. And like I said, I was deflated by this point. I was getting tired. I was feeling the length of the show. This is my match of the night. This match was awesome. I love this match so much. As much as I hated the main event and as much as I hated Bray Wyatt and Randy Orton, I love this match twice as much. Fuck wrestling conventions. Fuck the idea that you need to be a long match to be a great match. Fuck that. These two, the way it was booked and the way the story played out, these two did more in less than 5 minutes than the main event did in 30. Or however long that fucking match was. And trust me, I've got a lot to say about that. But this match was so fucking cool. It was so amazing to watch. No flash, no top rope moves, nothing fancy, just two bulls charging at each other and trying to land KO shots the entire match. I loved every fucking minute of this. All 5 of them. It was great. It was fucking great. And my favorite moment of the entire show, and literally, I'm not joking when I say this, the match, the bell rings, and immediately Lesnar goes into Suplex City, and he hits 3 German suplexes, and he's like, oh, and I'm like, Brock Lesnar's taking Goldberg to Suplex City, and then Brock Lesnar pops up, poses, and then immediately Goldberg pops the fuck out of nowhere and hits a goddamn spear. I jumped out of my chair. I was so excited by it. I was like, holy shit, Goldberg! And, he just kept trying to spear Lesnar into oblivion. They did the bit outside the ring where he speared him through the guardrail. And it all served a point because it told the story. Lesnar had to weather the initial storm. He had to survive basically the first 2 minutes to get past Goldberg. And then when you get to that moment where he kicked out of the jackhammer, which as far as I know, I don't recall anyone ever kicking out of the jackhammer, ever, even, going back to WCW and Goldberg's whole career. I don't think anybody's ever kicked out of that. I don't think Goldberg's ever been beat clean, so this was that was another first. But you get to that moment where Goldberg's going to spear him again, and Lesnar does a leapfrog over him, which was an amazing show of athleticism from Lesnar, and it showed that he learned from his mistakes of working with Goldberg in the past. He finally was able to counter the spear, and once he did that, he's able to take Goldberg to Suplex City, hit the F5, get the win. This match was fucking awesome. It's my match of the night. I don't care. I don't care what any of y'all say. I don't care if it was 5 minutes or less. I really don't care. This match was a shot of adrenaline that I needed at this point in the show to get through the rest of WrestleMania. It was just like, it came the fuck out of nowhere like a truck on fire and just hit me square in the face. This match was so fucking cool. And it covered all the bases. If you love Brock Lesnar, it showed why Brock is great. It showed all the strengths of Brock Lesnar, and he got to go over, so it made those people happy. If you're more like me and you like Bill Goldberg and you're marked for Goldberg, even though he lost, this match captured all the strengths and everything that made Bill Goldberg cool. And the match perfectly captured all the strengths, hit all the weaknesses, because with Goldberg, all right, what are the strengths? He's strong as fuck and explosive and has these bursts of energy in his matches. The weakness, he can't go long. All right, let's work his matches in a way where he has bursts of energy and bursts of explosion, and the matches aren't that long. Oh my god, Goldberg's awesome again. What do you know? What do you fucking know? But yeah, I love this match. I cannot believe that the WWE booked this, because it was so cool. It was so non-formulaic compared to what they normally do, and it was like the best punch in the face I've ever gotten in my life. It was just so great. It was so fucking good, and I was happy to witness it. My favorite match on the show. And if you had told me that Goldberg and Lesnar was going to go 5 minutes and was going to be your favorite match on the show, I'd have been like, yeah, okay. But no, that's exactly what happened. On a show that had other good matches on it, the ladder match was good. Even though I was disappointed by it, Seth and Triple H was good. AJ and Shane was really good. Jericho and Owens was good. So this wasn't a WrestleMania that was devoid of good matches. The Cruiserweight title match on the pre-show was good. But, fuck it! Lesnar Goldberg! Yeah! God damn, that match was so cool! But anyway, yeah. My main motivation for doing this video was to talk about that match, because that match made me so happy and got me so excited. I was like, man, that was so fucking cool. That match was so fucking cool. So, now that I have that out of the way, Goldberg-Lesnar, my favorite match from WrestleMania. Never thought I would say that. Especially after the WrestleMania 20 match, which, in my opinion, you know what? They've made up for it. They made up for it. We got a match of the night out of them. It took a while. It took a few years. It took over a decade to get there. But we got there. And good stuff. Just really good stuff. Really liked it. So let's get back to the format now that I'm done marking out. Next up was the SmackDown Women's title match, which I completely forgot was actually happening by this. But after Goldberg Lesnar, I was kind of in a fog. I was like, oh shit, we got this match, don't we? Oh shit. Completely forgot about this. Alright, so it was Alexa Bliss versus Mickie James versus Naomi versus Carmella versus Natalya versus Becky Lynch for the SmackDown Women's title. My favorite part of this match was Mickie James' outfit. Damn, she looked good in those shorts. That's it. That's really all I got. This match, it was just filler. I'm not saying it was bad. I'm just saying it was just there. It was filler. Naomi won, so it was like, all right, we're right back to where we were before she got hurt. So that's fine. It's fine, I guess. Man, like, I mean, I don't really have anything else to say other than that. It was there to fill time, and that's it. Moving on. Then we got the main event, Undertaker versus Roman Reigns in a no-holds-barred match. And when I realized that, and it had been reported over the weekend that Reigns and Taker was going to close. And I was like, really? Like, they're going to close with that? And that immediately made me think, okay, they're probably doing that because it's going to be Taker's retirement match. However, this match can't close WrestleMania because it's going to be terrible. Unless they do exactly what I suggested, which is have Roman Reigns destroy The Undertaker, turn heel, then that might work. But it's like, they're not going to do that, so it's not going to work. And two things I liked about this match, before I go off, Two things I liked. It was nice to hear JR at the booth again. Granted, he didn't have the best match to call, but it was just nice to hear his voice again. I'm like, all right, JR just instantly classes things up, so it was great to hear JR. And the ending with Undertaker basically signaling his retirement, leaving his gloves in the ring, his hat, and his coat, was a nice, somber ending to WrestleMania. Bittersweet, obviously, but it was, it was emotional, it was somber, and a nice ending. So at least it went out on kind of a nice visual, and very sad, but also at the same time, it was like, all right, that's a nice emotional ending to close out WrestleMania on. The match itself was so bad that I feel like I owe Triple H versus Roman Reigns from last year an apology. It was that bad. It was awful. And, some people were saying they should have done Undertaker and Cena. Guys, that match probably would have been worse because it would have become a finisher fest, and there's no way that Undertaker, in the state he's in, could have taken the 4 or 5 AAs necessary to make that match what everybody expects it to be. It was so terrible. And here's the other thing. I put it at the start of this video, all my reviews of Undertaker's last few WrestleMania matches, some of his last few performances, and I ran him down hard, and I said he needed to retire, and I said that those matches were terrible, but and I stand by those reviews, but I want to add on to that. I don't believe that those matches were bad out of laziness. I truthfully believe that Undertaker did the best he possibly could. I believe that Undertaker poured his heart and soul into every single one of those matches. That was just as good as he could possibly do. That was the state we got to at this point with the dead man. It's like, he can't do it anymore, and we're at a point where his best is not good enough. And I mean, this match was, first of all, it was overly long. It did not need to be 25 minutes or whatever, however long it went. Undertaker looked dazed and confused out there. He looked out of shape. He looked broken down. He looked old. All the things that I said, and you heard me say them again at the start of the video. It's just he's not the Phenom anymore. He's just not that guy, and he should have hung it up years ago. I'll say it again. He should have hung it up when the streak was over. Once the streak was over, to me, that should have been the end. And stretching it out the last few years, it just got more sad and a lot harder to watch. And you look at things in this match, like Roman Reigns, who, in my opinion, gets no blame for this. Gets absolutely no blame for this. The match turning out as poorly as it did. It was just that was the deck he was handed. An Undertaker that is so far past his prime that it's just, he can't do it. He just cannot do it. When you get to that point where Roman Reigns did everything for Undertaker to give him the last ride, like that was basically, short of actually giving the last ride to himself, Roman Reigns did everything he could to put himself in position to let Undertaker give him the last ride, and Undertaker just could not get him up for the last ride to make it look good. And it reminded me of when I saw Tenryu and his match with Okada, and that was Tenryu's retirement match. And it's like Okada did everything to get Tenryu to powerbomb him, and he still fucked it up. He still couldn't do it, and he almost dropped. He looked like he dropped Okada on his head because he couldn't do it right. When they did the tombstone flip spot, which I remember first time Undertaker did that, it was SummerSlam 94 in the Undertaker versus Undertaker match. When they tried to do that tombstone flip counter spot, Undertaker couldn't do it. That's what it is. Kind of reminded me of when Ric Flair and Shawn Michaels tried to do the bridge up spot at WrestleMania 24, and Flair just couldn't do it. You ain't a young man anymore. You can't do everything that you used to do. And there were a lot of stuff like that. And towards the finish, where Undertaker looked out of position for the Superman punch or the spear. I don't remember which. He just couldn't get in position, so Reigns just punched him. It's like, ugh. And Reigns is trying to have to lead the dance here. But, this match was sad. And it's like, this was Undertaker's retirement match. By all indications, it is. And, like I said, his retirement's long overdue. to me, it's kind of like The Simpsons, where it's like, look, yes, you were great at one point, and yes, you were the best at your craft at one point, but you aren't that anymore, and I would like for you to retire so that I can talk about what an influence you were and how great you were. And at some point, I'm going to do an Undertaker tribute video. That's just how it is. Because I do have a lot of great things to say about Undertaker, and I appreciated most of his career. I started to dislike him after he beat Punk for the title in 2009, which I thought was a very selfish decision and ruined the SmackDown brand. I never got over that. So I soured on Undertaker after that. And then from WrestleMania 30 onwards, it's like, okay, physically his performances aren't what they used to be. They aren't up to snuff anymore. So it's really, we need to think about winding this down and turning this off now. It's over, guys. Come on. But yeah, this match was terrible. I mean, it was just an awful, awful main event. And I don't begrudge Reigns going over. I was thinking in this situation, it's like, he better go over. I mean, fuck. Like, he better fucking go over just for the sake of, like, promoting the young guy over the broken down old man. It's like, yeah, he better win. But, you know, we go into this other problem, and one of the reasons that Reigns' WrestleMania main events have been so bad, the last two especially, and the third one was good because it was just Lesnar beating the shit out of him, and fans just relished in it, but... and the Seth Money in the Bank cash-in, but, you know, the reason that, one of the main reasons that the 32 match and the 33 matches were so bad is that Reigns is supposed to be the protagonist. He's supposed to be the guy that we're supposed to get behind. He's the top babyface. He's the hero, and we don't fucking like him. And because of that, the story doesn't work. And I don't know what they thought was going to happen the next night on Raw when the crowd was chanting, get the fuck out and shut the fuck up and all that other stuff at him. I mean, isn't it just more natural to turn Roman Reigns heel at this point just to make your stories better? And people say, oh, well, he's outselling everybody in merchandise now. And it's like, first of all, with the amount of promotion he's been getting, he better be. Second, don't you just hate how, like, t-shirt sales are driving storylines? Doesn't that feel a little, like... I don't know, callous and lacking in artistic integrity? I don't know. It's just me. I like my stories good. I don't know, and I can't get behind this protagonist. And, you know, and you can't force us to like him either. That's the other thing. They think they can just push him down our throats and the fans are just going to like him. And we're like, no, we went through it with Cena, and I hated it with Cena. We're like, why are you doing this again? Fuck. Goddamn, Cena's like almost over. We're almost past Cena, and now it's like you're just forcing this other shill on us. It's like, fuck. God damn it. But, I think, again, if you turned him heel, I think you could do some good stuff. Like I said, there's a precedent for doing that. People don't remember this. Honky Tonk Man started as a babyface, and the fans hated him. So they turned him heel. And they got the longest reigning Intercontinental Champion of all time out of it. And got a lot of heat out of that. Because the fans hated him. You know, fucking The Rock. Somebody you may have heard of. Dwayne The Rock Johnson. Started him off as Rocky Maivia. Fans hated him. Turned him heel. Turned him into The Rock. Fans loved him. You know, turned him heel. He was a great heel, but then he turned babyface. He gained acceptance as a face. So really, once you turn a guy heel, you can either get a lot of heat out of him, or the fans will eventually accept him as a face, and then you get the original thing you wanted anyway. So what the fuck is the problem? New Day, same thing. Bring him up, fans hate him, turn him heel, they become sarcastic, fans love him, now they're one of the most over acts on the show. Edge. Does anyone remember what Edge was like when he was a babyface in like 2004? I do. He kind of sucked. He was a little milquetoast. Turn him heel, turn him into the rated R superstar, he becomes one of the greatest stars of his era. And eventually gains acceptance as a face. Although he was never quite as good as a face as he was a heel. I can list tons of examples like that. It's the natural way that this works. You know? And they just won't fucking do it. They just will not do it with these guys. Even though these fans are practically screaming for it. I don't get it. Doesn't make sense to me, but what do I know? I'm just the guy watching the shows. So that's WrestleMania. Like I said, there was... I liked more than I disliked. Goldberg Lesnar was awesome. AJ and Shane was really good. I liked Jericho and Owens. I liked Triple H and Rollins. I liked the ladder match. The Hardy Boys return was cool. So I liked more than I disliked, I would say. But there were those problems, like the show being too long, the main event was bullshit, but... and so I won't say it was a terrible show, but it wasn't a great show either. But it was better than 31 and 32, so I'll give it that. Next up, now that I'm past WrestleMania, finally, let's talk about NXT TakeOver Orlando, the show that happened the night before. Once again, another good show from NXT. I thought it was a pretty solid, exciting show from start to finish. They got new championship belts, a new world title, a new women's title, and new tag title belts. I wonder why they did that. I can't fathom. I can't imagine why they did that. Why would they do that? I don't know. In all seriousness, though, I want to know how much money it cost them to make those new belts, because I want to assign, like, monetary impact to Brad Maddox's cum. I mean, how hilarious is that? It's like, that dude actually gets to say that his jizz financially damaged the company. I'm like, that is hilarious. That is great. And he should pat himself on the back for that. Anyway, moving past that, opening match was Ty Dillinger, Roderick Strong, and Cassius Ohno, and Ruby Riott, the new girl that they just debuted last week. I've never seen her before, so I don't really know anything about her. Really odd-looking girl, tattoos everywhere. Versus Sanity, Eric Young, Alexander Wolf, Killian Dane, who was one of the final three in the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. Actually, a funny thing about the Memorial Battle Royal, when it came down to like the last five and Sammy was like the only like real name star left, I was like, well, Sammy's got to win this now, right? I mean, he's the only one left. And then like literally as I tweeted that, Sammy's got to win this, or whatever my tweet was, I tweeted it, and literally just as I pushed the button to tweet it, Sami Zayn got eliminated. I'm like, well, fuck that. Whatever. But yeah, Killian Dane going all the way to the end. I was like, okay, that was weird. And Nikki Cross. So this was an intergender 8-person tag match. It was chaotic and wild. It was a bit spot festy, and they kind of like threw the rule book out the window. There were various points where it felt like the referee should have just thrown the match out. But I felt like the girls added some flavor to it with some of the spots that they did and some of the little craziness that they brought to it. It was fun. It was just a good, fun opener. Cassius Ohno is fat as hell, and I don't know what happened to him. Like, did you like eat a cow? Like, dude, what happened? Somebody told me he has a thyroid problem, and that's causing him to have the weight problem, but it's like, damn, you look horrible, dude. Like, what happened? You look like you don't know what the inside of a gym looks like. Not that I'm the most cut guy in the world, but I also don't, I'm not an athlete for a living either, so it's not reliant on me having to have a good physique, and I was like, fuck, I'm not as fat as that. Like, Jesus. I mean, Cassius Ohno, it looks bad. Like, it looks embarrassing, and it's not like a gimmick reinvention like Adrian Adonis, where Adrian Adonis turned himself into this drag queen after he got fat, and it's like, well, at least they made it his gimmick, so I can't fault him for that, but man, Ohno looks bad. He just looks really bad. When he had the title match with Rude, I was like, Rude better fucking win. It's like, if they put the title on this fat boy, I'm gonna lose my mind, but yeah, other than that, though, I thought the match was good, chaotic fun. Not really a whole lot else to say other than that. Next up was Andrade Cien Almas versus Aleister Black, Tommy End. This was weird. I was expecting this to be a squash match for Aleister Black. It's obvious that they want to push him. But it felt like Almas dominated most of the match. So it wasn't like really a squash match, and it was like, there were a couple moments where Tommy got to show what he could do, but it didn't click real well. It didn't flow real well. And I think part of the reason is because that Tommy didn't just get to go out there and just dominate him. And like an opening match should. And some people have told me, it's like, well, Andrade Cien Almas is above that. I'm like, first of all, is he really? I've never been that high on the guy. Second of all, I mean, he's better as a heel than he is as a face, but yeah, is he really? But second of all right, fine, don't put him up against Cien Almas. Put him up against some no-name. I don't care. Get one of the guys from the UK tournament, like one of the low-end guys, and just have him job to him. I don't care. Like, whatever. Put the match on the pre-show and have Andrade fight somebody else. I don't know. I'm just throwing names out there. Throwing ideas out. Yeah, this match didn't really click for me. This was the worst match on the show, easily. My favorite match on the show was the tag title match, once again. The Revival come through once again. It was the Authors of Pain versus DIY versus the Revival for the NXT tag titles in a elimination match, elimination 3-way. I love it got a little chaotic at points, and you got things like the dog pile spot, although I thought the way they did it was a little bit more creative with the superplex being incorporated into the dog pile. I thought, what was I going to say? The suicide dive spamming paid off with the Authors of Pain saying basically fuck this, and they just cut that shit out. So I thought that was cool. I also like the idea of DIY and the Revival having to put their differences aside to team up against the Authors of Pain to try to take them down. And when you get to that point where they put Razor through the table, which was a really well-designed spot, and they've got Akam locked up in the submission holds, you're thinking, oh my god, Authors of Pain are finally going to go down. They're going to beat them. This is how you do it. And they barely survived, and it was like, man, there was a lot of nice drama there, and ultimately DIY and Revival's partnership couldn't hold together, and it led to the Authors of Pain capitalizing and ultimately getting the win. But along the way, we got some cool stuff, like the mix and match DIY and Revival spots were cool, like the DIY Shatter Machine that they did was pretty neat. So yeah, just a lot of wild and crazy action, really well designed. Again, they kind of threw the tag team rulebook out the window, but a lot of the structure of the match was so well handled that I let it slide at least a little bit. Very good match. Just very, very good match. Best match on TakeOver, once again, NXT tag titles. This is kind of the thing now. They're kind of the show stealers, although that's probably going to stop now that the Revival's been moved up to the main roster. But, oh well, they pretty much did all they could do in NXT, so I think they're actually, unlike what I said about Ty Dillinger, I think they're a good move to move up to the main roster, as long as they put more focus on the tag team division. I think Revival versus Hardys could be a really good match to do, so we shall see. Next up was Asuka versus Ember Moon for the NXT Women's title. The match that got interrupted because I got the announcement about Rick and Morty. But I went back and watched the whole thing. Good match. Not one of the best NXT Women's titles matches ever, but good. I mean, Ember showed that she could hang in there with somebody like Asuka, and good action, good spots throughout with both girls like being crazy and hard-hitting and all that fun stuff. I thought the finish was well designed with Asuka basically turning heel and becoming cockier and cockier, and you keep like thinking, it's like, all right, man, who's gonna beat her? Who's gonna be the one to finally beat her? I heard that WWE signed one of the Black Lotus Triad girls. I forget which one. I think it was the one that dove off Dario's office in Lucha Underground. I heard that they signed her to a developmental deal, which if that's the case, I think you found Asuka's the one that's finally going to take Asuka down, if that's the case. Yeah, no, I thought it was a good, solid women's title match. Not really a whole lot else to say other than that. It was just really good, really solid. And then we got the main event. Bobby Roode defending the NXT title against Shinsuke Nakamura. Rematch from the previous TakeOver special. This was, I could criticize it for being a rematch with the exact same result. So aside from firmly establishing Bobby Roode as the man in NXT, you didn't get a whole lot of development out of this. However, what was I going to say? The match was so well done that I let it slide. And I thought this match was great. I thought it was excellent. Like I said, I thought this match did a better job of utilizing the injury in its story than Seth and Triple H did the next night. Very well worked match. Again, like Nakamura and Roode, they have really good chemistry, and their two styles just mesh together really well. Great stuff here. Just really, really great stuff. Went a really long time, too. I think it went like close to 30 minutes. Like it was a really long one, but I was excited all the way throughout. I thought it was a really well designed, really great match. Glad that Roode won. I think he's the guy. Now that Ty's moved up to the main roster, I don't know who the fuck Roode's gonna work with now. But that's up to them to figure out. Just a really, really great main event, great match, great ending to the show. So yeah, NXT TakeOver once again. Not one of the better takeovers, but I've been kind of down on NXT lately. I think the weekly shows have been kind of boring. But, they still come through at takeover time, so I guess I can't fault them too much. Main event was great. The tag title match was great. The women's match and the opener were good. The only downer was kind of the Tommy End match. On that, just really solid and exciting show all the way throughout. I don't really have anything bad to say. I just really enjoyed it. So that's NXT TakeOver. I'm looking at my time code. I am an hour and 5 minutes, just hit an hour 5, into filming this portion of the video. I've got one more show to review, and then I've got my top 10 matches for the month of March 2017. So, home stretch, we're getting there. Ring of Honor, Supercard of Honor 11, their traditional WrestleMania weekend show. Honestly, it was in front of the largest crowd that Ring of Honor's ever drawn. That's what they said, anyway. And I thought it was a very good show. I thought it was a really good, again, Ring of Honor, I don't feel like they've been setting the world on fire lately, but they came through in this show. I thought it was a really good event all around. Got the matches pulled up. Marty Scurll versus Adam Cole for the Ring of Honor TV title. There's rumors that Adam Cole's going to leave Ring of Honor soon, so it makes sense that he would put Marty over. Good opener. They did have that tombstone botch in there, but other than that, I thought it was a really good opener, really hot. Good stuff. Right guy went over. A lot of good counters, a lot of good action. Really hot opener to start the show, and just a really enjoyable match. Next up, we got Silas Young and the Beer City Bruiser versus The Kingdom. A filler match. It was fine for what it was, but it was just a filler match. Not really a whole lot else to say. Silas Young and the Beer City Bruiser won. Okay. That's really all I have to say about that. Although this would not be the last of Silas Young that we would see on this show. Then we got the Ring of Honor 6-man tag titles match. Bully Ray and the Briscoes versus Hangman Page and the Gorillas of Destiny representing the Bullet Club. Really fun match. I really enjoyed it. They worked some of the bits in where Bully Ray was a trainer to the Gorillas of Destiny, and they kind of worked that into the match a little bit. You got a lot of fun, crazy stuff in there. The Briscoes and Bully Ray actually mesh well together as a three-man team. I almost said duo. Well, like a three-man duo. That's a stupid thing to say. But anyway, I thought the match was really good, really entertaining, really solid. It was just really good and entertaining. Just really enjoyed it. And I'm fine with Bully Ray and the Briscoes going over because, like I said, I think they work well together and they do have chemistry, so might as well just keep it going for as long as you can. Next up was Jay Lethal versus Cody Rhodes. Well, just Cody. We can't call him Cody Rhodes. In a Texas Bull Rope match. I really liked this match because it wasn't just violent, it was 80s violent. And what I mean by that is actually perfect example on SmackDown this week, Dean Ambrose and Baron Corbin had a street fight. And WWE violence is very stunt based. It's very it's all about using the chairs and the tables and all of that stuff, and very stunt based. And it looks very I don't want to say choreographed, but it has an air of it's meant to be more entertaining than it is actually brutal. This match was brutal. Cody bled. They did a couple of crazy stuff. It felt like a legitimate fight. It kind of had, although it wasn't as good as this, it kind of had the same feel of a Bret Hart Steve Austin. That felt like a real fucking violent fight. Tully Blanchard versus Magnum TA at Starrcade 85. That felt like a real fucking fight. And this match kind of was cut from that same cloth. Not as good, but it's cut from that same cloth where it was this felt like two guys trying to fight each other, not like a stunt brawl. And I really enjoyed it. This is probably the best match I've seen Cody have since he left the WWE. And I liked how they incorporated the bull rope into stuff Lethal was going for the lethal injection, and Cody just pulled on the bull rope and broke up the move. Lethal did the same thing with the disaster kick. Overall, just really well done. Really good work. Old school type of feel, but the fans were totally into it. So it was an old school match that worked very, very well with the crowd. Very non-ROH was this match, but I liked it because it was non-ROH like. I like variety. I like different things. I like different experiences, and this was a different style, different type of match. And the fans liked it. I liked it. Jay Lethal went over. I was fine with that. It was him finally getting his revenge over Cody after months and months of build-up. Great stuff. Just great stuff all around. Very enjoyable match. Next up was the three-way tag. Motor City Machine Guns versus Cheeseburger and Will Ferrara versus the Rebellion, Rhett Titus and Shane Taylor. This was just kind of filler, but they did some fun stuff with it. Cheeseburger is what James Ellsworth should be. It's I'm all for having that tiny shitty guy that gets beat up all the time that the fans love. That's a thing. I mean, that's a normal thing to do, and I'm fine with that. The problem with James Ellsworth is that they pushed him to the moon and made him basically the star of the show, and it's like, okay, this is stupid. Cheeseburger is not the star of the show. He's a fun, lighthearted thing on the show, and he's like got this underdog appeal, and he's fun to watch. So that's really all he is, and that's all he needs to be. Motor City Machine Guns did their stuff. They're a really good team. And overall, it just made for a really fun, it's a filler match, but it was a fun one, so I have no objection to it. Motor City Machine Guns went over, as they should. You look at these three teams, it's like, yeah, they should be the ones winning this match. Next up was Punishment Martinez versus Kazarian. As revenge for Kazarian's betrayal of the Bullet Club to help Christopher Daniels beat Adam Cole for the Ring of Honor title. Good match. Punishment Martinez, I think, is a very interesting talent. He's a big guy that can do some crazy shit, like that over-the-top rope dive that he did, and all sorts of other craziness. However, I wish they wouldn't do things like have somebody like Kazarian, like, slam him and throw him around. I wish Punishment would, like, be more mindful of, like, look, you're big. Throw fucking people around and just be big. You can do athletic things once in a while, but be big. And sometimes he kind of like doesn't completely adhere to that, but the match was still good, solid. Another thing, I didn't like that Bullet Club had to interfere to help Punishment Martinez win. I'm like, no, he should just be killing Kazarian. He should murder him because he's big as fuck. And the match only went like 6 minutes anyway, so it's not like it was, that lengthy of a match. So it's like, yeah, just have Punishment Martinez dominate him and get the win. It's like, whatever, it's not that much. Then I think after that we had the intermission, which was, a lot less expensive than WrestleMania's intermission. Because, the musical act is basically that show's intermission. All you gotta do, I say it again, just throw up intermission on the screen and throw up the Monty Python music. That's all you have to do. People are just gonna go piss anyway, so why pay all that money just to have people go piss? Then we came back from intermission. We got Bobby Fish versus Silas Young. Impromptu match. Bobby Fish came to the ring, cut a promo about his loss to Jay Lethal and how he talked about his future in Ring of Honor, said he's not going anywhere, and that brought out Silas Young, who challenged him to a match. They had like this 2-minute thing where they brawled around the ring and it ended in a DQ. I thought the brawl was fine. I thought the promo was fine. I thought setting up the feud was fine. The problem is that I don't understand why they felt the need to even bother having an official match here. Why didn't they just do the promo and do the brawl? Like, why even bother having a match? That just seemed pointless. It was just a pointless match for the sake of having a pointless match. But other than that, I'm fine with it. I was like, all right, Bobby Fish and Silas Young are having a feud. I'm cool with that. Next up was Volador Jr. and Will Ospreay versus Dragon Lee and Jay White. Very spot-festy tag match. You could argue that this was filler because, again, no real story, just 4 guys that they want to throw out there in spotlight. It was fun for that, though. I mean, Will Ospreay and Dragon Lee are absolutely insane and do all sorts of crazy shit. So you gotta love them for that. And like I said, Will Ospreay is really something special. So, very spot-festy match. But, again, as a filler, it was fine. Just really enjoyable, very good. For what it was trying to be and what it needed to be, I was completely fine with this. I believe, I'm trying to remember who won it. It was Volador and Will Ospreay who got the win. Good match, just a nice match to round out the card. Gave the fans a bunch of action, gave them a lot of excitement, nice spotlight for a bunch of guys, and you got a good match out of it. So, one of those nice matches that rounds out the card. Then we got Christopher Daniels versus Dalton Castle for the Ring of Honor World title. Thank God this did not close, because this would have been a shitty main event. As a pre-main event, it was okay. It was fine. I don't think anybody in their right mind believed that Dalton Castle was going to beat Daniels. It was Daniels' first pay-per-view title defense, and I personally don't view Dalton Castle as being on the level of like main event world title guy. He's an entertaining guy, and he's talented, but I don't view him as like the top guy. So I knew he wasn't going to win this, and I didn't feel like anybody else was convinced that he even had a prayer of winning this. And the match didn't do anything to make me think that he could possibly win. Even, didn't he hit the bangerang at one point? I thought he did. But even then, I was just kind of like, he's not winning. But yeah, thank God Daniels won. And then Cody attacked him after the match, setting up, okay, we're going to get Cody versus Christopher Daniels, which again, fine with that. Totally cool with that, setting up that feud for down the road. Like I said, if this match had been the main event, it would have sucked, but it wasn't the main event, so I'm okay with it. It was just Christopher Daniels' first title defense. And that's really all it was. that's really all there is to say about it. And then we get the real main event, the Hardys versus the Young Bucks for the Ring of Honor tag titles in a ladder match. This match, and this is coming from somebody who's typically very critical of the Young Bucks. I've actually been enjoying their matches more lately. I talked about how much I liked their match at Wrestle Kingdom, where they actually worked a fucking storyline through their match. It wasn't just, let's do all the same spots just because. Honestly, I thought this match was great. I would go as far to say probably the match of the weekend. I know I marked out the fuck for Goldberg and Lesnar, and I know I really liked the three-way tag at NXT. I really liked AJ and Shane. I really liked Rude and Nakamura, but I'm going to say I think this was the match of the weekend, at least of the 3 shows I watched. I know there were a bunch of WrestleMania weekend shows, but of the 3 I watched, I really like Hardys and Young Bucks. And again, it's the type of match you want to see these 2 teams in because they're just built for the ladder match. The Hardys' legacy is in the ladder match, and the Young Bucks are kind of the next Hardys, so it's just perfect to do this type of thing. Although I wonder why Matt Hardy didn't just think to have Vanguard 1 take the titles down for him. Could have done it 2 nights in a row. Come on, man. You got Vanguard 1, use it. Oh, wait, the Owl owns him now. Which, by the way, thank you, Ring of Honor, for chanting, fuck that Owl. That's great. And all credit goes to Rebby Sky for that call. Her meltdown was pretty amazing, but we got fuck that Owl out of it, which is pretty great. But yeah, I thought this match was great. You got a lot of great and creative action out of it. I really like the finish with, and for all my talk about the Young Bucks overusing the super kick, they used it as the finish here, where both teams are on ladders. Young Bucks are in sync with each other. They super kick the Hardys off their ladder and then take the titles down and win it. And I thought that was a really well done finish, and you got a lot of really cool creative stuff like that. And it's the type of match you would want to see these 2 teams to have with each other, and I thought it was a great main event for Ring of Honor. Perfect capstone to their highest attended show ever. The Hardys were leaving, so they put over the Young Bucks on their way out. I'm fine with that. And as long as the Young Bucks manage to give me matches more along like this line or like the match they had at Wrestle Kingdom, I'm not going to have a problem with the Young Bucks as champions. Just keep getting better and keep being good. I thought this match was great. It was probably my favorite match of the weekend. If you like ladder matches, I highly recommend checking out the ladder match main event of Supercard of Honor 11. It was terrific. And that's all I have to say about Supercard of Honor 11. I thought it was a really good show. So, 3 good shows this weekend. WrestleMania had its problems, but overall I don't regret that I watched it. There was more, like I said, I liked more than I disliked. NXT, as per usual with TakeOver specials, was really good. And Supercard of Honor was really good as well. So, a lot of good wrestling this weekend. I was happy with it. But it's time to close out this absurdly long video with talking about my favorite wrestling matches from the last month, from March 2017. It's funny, coming out of this weekend, I'm going to have to put together a list of my top 10 favorite matches for April. I put together like a preliminary list. I already have like 11 just coming out of this weekend. So it's like, oh, damn. Okay. So next month is probably going to be a little bit harder to figure out. This month, I actually didn't have that much to work with. But there wasn't a whole lot. And I think the number 10 spot is going to be indicative of that. Number 10, Andrade Cien Almas versus One Lorcan from the 329 episode of NXT. I feel like I've seen this match like 6 times already, but this one, it's like for a match with no expectations. They actually had a pretty solid match on TV. I was like, fuck it, whatever. I'll make it the number 10 spot. I don't care. Cien Almas got the win, and it was just a fairly regular match on NXT, but it was better than I expected it to be, so what are you going to do? Number 9, Katsuyori Shibata versus Bad Luck Fale in the New Japan Cup Finals. Good match, good finals to the tournament. I like Bad Luck Fale. Everybody shits on him. I like him. He's a good big guy. He's just there to look big and make, be an obstacle for people. He's there to be a thug, and for that role, I think he's fine. I don't know why people shit on him so much. I thought Shibata had a good match with him. Appropriate match of the finals. Shibata got the win. I'm perfectly fine with Shibata winning the New Japan Cup tournament, and we're off to the races. It's like, all right, let's see Shibata get that title shot. Here we go. I'm all for it. Let's go. Number 8, Neville versus Rich Swann on the March 6th episode of Monday Night Raw. I believe this was for the Cruiserweight title. It was that long, 2 or 3 segment match that they had. really good. Neville got the win once again because he's Neville and he's the king of the cruiserweights and he beats everybody. But really good match regardless. Number 7, an Impact Wrestling match made it. ECIII versus Alberto El Patron from the March 16th episode of Impact Wrestling. Impact is currently in their transition period right now with new management and a new direction for the company. The best match that I've seen since they went into their new direction was the EC3 Alberto El Patron match. That was a really good main event, really intense, really well done. Best thing that they've done since the reboot. So hopefully this match is hopefully this match is the rule and not the exception. So time will tell moving forward. Number 6, Neville versus Jack Gallagher for this Cruiserweight title from Fastlane 2007. The only match from that show that I liked, if memory serves me right. I remember hating that show. But yeah, really good match, and Gallagher's my boy. I like him. He makes me smile. Gallagher makes me smile. And it was nice to see him get a spotlight match. Glad that Neville won. I think Neville's the right choice, and I think he needs to continue being strong and being him. But overall, really enjoyable match. Number 5, Katsuyori Shibata versus Tomohiro Iishi in the semifinals of the New Japan Cup. These two went out there and beat the shit out of each other. Had another great match, as you would expect them to. Great stuff. Loved it. Just probably one of the better matches on the tournament. Third best match on the tournament. I'm looking ahead on my list. Third best match on the tournament. Really good stuff. Really liked it. Number 4, the Broken Hardys versus the Young Bucks versus Roppongi Vice for the ROH Tag Titles in a No Holds Barred Street Fight from the Ring of Honor 15th Anniversary Show. They used thumbtacks. They used tables. They used ladders. They used, everything in the book they could in this match. It was wild, crazy fun, and it was indicative of the type of chemistry that the Hardys and the Bucks could have together, and you saw the culmination of that at Supercard of Honor 11 with that great ladder match they had, but this match was really entertaining as well. Number 3, Katsuyori Shibata versus Minoru Suzuki in the first round of the New Japan Cup. Suzuki just has this magic way of bringing out the best in people, of people that are already great. This match was great. It was a fantastic match in the first round. Loved it. And I love watching Suzuki. He's just got that old, crazy guy kind of appeal to him. He's just great. And I thought him and Shibata had an excellent match, so I was really happy to see it. Number 2, Adam Cole versus Christopher Daniels for the Ring of Honor World title from the 15th Anniversary show. They used a bunch of tricks like the Styles Clash and Kazarian screwing the Bullet Club, tricking the Bullet Club into thinking he was on their side, but then he screwed him and helped Daniels get the win. Using 3 BMEs, best moonsault evers, to get the final pinfall, and Christopher Daniels winning his first ever Ring of Honor World title after all those years from when he originally debuted with the company. Finally gets a Ring of Honor World title reign. Great match, great main event, great payoff, and it was nice to see Daniels get the win, so you got that feel-good story attached to it as well. Number 1, my favorite match of the month, Tomohiro Ishii versus Kenny Omega in the New Japan Cup first round. Shocked that Kenny Omega lost. I thought for sure he was going to win in the first round. But excellent match. Killer match. Kenny Omega, as good as I thought he was before, that dude seems to just keep getting better and better. I'm not saying this was as good as his match with Okada at Wrestle Kingdom, but it was damn good. Excellent match. Really enjoyed it. Shocked by the result, but I don't dislike Ishii, so I'm fine with it. And good stuff. Just really good match. Now, brand of the month, I'm going to give it to... Even though they had absolutely no new programming, I'm going to give it to Lucha Underground. And my justification for that is that they got the Netflix deal, and they're on Netflix now, which is a big step for them. And I got to relive a lot of Lucha Underground on Netflix, and that was really cool and really exciting to me. So if you have not seen Lucha Underground seasons 1 and 2 yet, it's on Netflix. And if you have a Netflix account, you can totally watch it. So check that the fuck out. So with all of that, I think I'm finally done. My big Wrestlemania video is over. 3 big reviews, top 10 matches, bunch of other stuff. Glad to get that out of the way. Now for a couple of updates. I'm going to take a couple weeks off from making videos, maybe 2 weeks. A couple of reasons. One, work has gotten crazy lately, and we've got some big projects that I got shoehorned into because fuck me, that's why. Even though I have no business being in those projects. One in particular that I'm like, why the fuck am I working on this thing? I have no business working on this thing, but whatever. Yeah, so that's going to take up a lot of my time. It's like, alright, let's put the video making on hold for a couple weeks, and we'll get that out of the way. Also, I want to start doing some prep work on some videos later in the year. Namely, and I'd already talked about this before, I want to do a Masters of the Universe top 10 or top 20 episodes. I haven't decided yet. I want to do that video. I'm considering doing one for like Thundercats and Transformers and Ninja Turtles, but let's do He-Man first and then see how it goes from there. I also want to do kaiju movie reviews. Some people have requested that I do non-Godzilla kaiju movie reviews, and I've kind of gotten the itch to do it, especially with, the kaiju shared universe that Legendary is doing, and a bunch of other stuff. And I've got plenty of options to talk about. So I'm considering, I'm not entirely sure, because I don't want to do every kaiju movie ever made, because that would be ridiculous. But I'm gonna pick and choose which ones I want to review, and see if I can do a good enough job with those, like I did with the Godzilla movie reviews, and see if I can get those to work. So that's another thing I want to plan. So I want to start doing prep for those videos, namely watching some of the movies that I either haven't seen before or haven't seen in a while, reading the He-Man episode book that I have, just to get like additional details on the episodes I'm going to pick for my list, and a bunch of things like that. So, we're past Wrestlemania season. I feel like most of the big news is done now. So unless a major development happens in the next 2 weeks, I'm not going to... you won't be seeing me for a couple weeks. But don't worry, I will be back. Got another Star Wars review planned. I've actually got a big Star Wars review planned. My next one's actually going to be big. Really big. So be on the lookout for that. Also, I have another classic match review. That'll be coming. Both of those videos will be coming at the end of the month. But for right now, I'm going to take a couple weeks off to regroup, kind of get over WrestleMania season, and kind of bang some of the stuff out that I've got on my plate. And but until then, you all have a good one. Hope you all had a blast WrestleMania weekend, and hope you all have the good times. I will be back in a couple weeks. I promise you will see me again soon.